From sunny Southern California, we bring you Meet Bridget, a podcast for building confident communication and female badassery. We spotlight women who have bridged the gaps in their lives by building strong relationships and speaking their teenage dreams into reality.
Bring it on, baby!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Welcome back to Meet Bridget Season 5. I'm Kashia Rosenberg, and I co-host this show alongside my best friend and Bridget founder, Asha Gabriel. Our show is a giant library of career and life path options for young women to relate to. By sharing the honest and unfiltered teenage stories of a diverse array of successful women. We really believe that confidence starts with self-trust and that it grows through authentic community. We try to tap back into our formative years and make this Meet Bridget community a place where women of all ages and stages can connect on common ground. Today, I am so excited and thrilled to introduce a really incredible woman and artist, Tracy Piper. Tracy, born in Oakland, California, is a contemporary painter, muralist, author, and art activist celebrated for her bold, figurative acrylic works that blend vibrancy, emotion, and social commentary. Her paintings have been exhibited at Scope Miami Beach, Select Fair, and Scope New York, as well as internationally. And she tries to challenge the constructs around identity and inclusivity. She's a champion of empowerment and self-expression. Her murals span both U.S. coasts and amplify the message of belonging and visibility. She first gained national recognition on GSN TV's Skin Wars Fresh Paint, and she's the author of multiple books, including Worthy and the Scene series. Represented by Voss Gallery in San Francisco, Piper holds a BFA in illustration from California College of the Arts. Through her art and activism, Piper continues to push boundaries in contemporary art, creating work that is both visually dazzling while also tackling themes of mental health, community, and equity. I truly feel that Tracy's work also embodies what a vibrant and multidimensional human being that she is, and I am so excited to have you on the show and so excited to share you with our Meet Bridget's community. So welcome, Tracy.
Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. You did so good. It's such a long bio now, which I'm so proud of. But
it's
you
incredible.
killed it.
No, you killed it. You killed it.
It's nice to reflect and see what you've done,
It honestly really is. We've talked to a lot of our guests who, come from a really diverse array of careers, and one of the common threads is as we're putting together these bios or we're reading back the body of work that a lot of these women have done, almost everybody is like, wow, I cannot believe that's actually something that I accomplished. And I think it fits in really nicely with our thread, because if I were to tell childhood me that I would be sitting here interviewing women that I admire or running multiple companies, I probably wouldn't believe me. But that's why we're here. We're going to share those stories.
Right. And I think, there's something really important there too, if we're talking about female stories, which is your intro, which is amazing. And I'm so excited to be here, by the way. So thank you. As women, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s, I don't know how old you are, but I know how old I am. We don't need to talk about that. But we can talk about the fact that there was never visibility, right? We didn't see ourselves. I didn't see artists doing what I did. I didn't even know I wanted to be an artist at the time. Yeah. And I'm sure just multiple on your end, owning multiple businesses, were those even an example in our time? I don't know, but we're doing it now.
I think it was really taboo. I mean,
yeah.
And
women couldn't even have a bank account 50 years ago, right?
Or credit card.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we're on the same wavelength here.
No, we're on the same wavelength. I think we've come very far in some ways, and we've got a long way to go in others.
Yes.
So I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like. You are a contemporary fine artist. You have your work exhibited in multiple places. You are all over social media. Your work is so vibrant. What does your day-to-day look like?
It's chaos. I'm also a mom. And
Yes.
that comes first and foremost.
Yes.
And yeah, every day is different, but that's really what I was looking for. I knew I wasn't going to be someone who could do a 9 to 5. Before I was a painter, I was in the circus from like a young age. So I've always just done everything on my own the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So my days now are mostly get the kid to school,
Yeah.
make sure we got groceries in the house, and then I just hit it hard. And my work and my social media presence and my plan is very chaos, right? Like every day you get me as I am. And I think there's a real beauty in that of not being perfect and not being planned. Yeah, who knows? You could come on my social media and it'll be like a gorgeous picture of me in Miami, or it could be me looking like a little gremlin in the studio doing a funny dance. And all of it, I think, is worthy and acceptable and fun. So yeah,
and it's all part
chaos.
of the process.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of my work too is like that. When I'm painting, it is really responding to like what's happening now. And it's a gift that I can even get to do that. So yeah. Every day is different.
How do you spend time every day in the studio painting or creating, or are there some days where you're purely doing like outreach or working directly with companies? Because part of what you do is having your work be visible to the world, right? So,
and it ain't easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have an agent? Like, what does that take? Like, do you have to reach out yourself?
So there's a little combo there, right? So I've worked with Voss Gallery for many years and I love working with her. And in that regard, when I do something with Voss, she's definitely like the right-hand woman of that. But I would say, like, if we're talking to young people who want to get into the arts, it really is a hustle on your own. Like, nobody's going to just hand you the keys. I didn't meet Voss at the beginning of my career. I had to have, a lot under my belt before I was even able to work with a gallery in that way. And going forward, it's not the only gallery I work with. So like, honestly, most of my time is not spent painting. It's spent answering emails, making PDF pitches. I'm the queen of the pitch. You send that out to everyone, you make it look good. You make the body of work, but a lot of time is just spent crafting your message, crafting like what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it and convince people that it's good.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, you get good at convincing people. But being an artist, I mean, like the reality of being an artist is you are on your own. There is no framework. Like, yes, you could look at Picasso, but he was drunk and he beat his wife a lot, like I don't, and he just got famous. I don't know. I mean, don't quote me here. I'm not an art historian, but right. There's no like, oh, you go to college and then you go to your 9 to 5 and you like pay your 401k and then you've made it. Like as an artist, there is no rule book. And that's
every
that.
day looks
crazy.
Yourself.
And nobody teaches you how to do it. So sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, this is actually fascinating because you're extraordinarily successful and your work is very distinct and very recognizable. It's beautiful. It's vibrant. There's so much color there. The way that you are able to emanate people's emotions, because a lot of your work, and we'll link all of this in our show notes and, make it available for our audience to see via like YouTube and our Instagram. But if you look at it, you have these really beautiful, starkly contrasting paintings and murals of a lot of people's faces, which exhibit so much emotion and so much bright color. And so it's really distinct and unique in that way. And what's interesting is the way that you describe it is very unique. Like you're right. As an artist, I feel like your work is not cookie cutter. You can't just go in and sell yourself and say, hey, I have this great painting. You have to be able to evoke emotion and get people to buy into like your specific Tracy Piper style. So I would love to hear your pitch.
Oh,
what do you do? How do you craft a successful pitch? Like, what does that look like?
You gotta believe in yourself first, which I know sounds cheesy, but it's really true. Finding your voice as opposed to even being the best painter, I think is actually more important than painting. I think I could teach anyone how to paint a hand or a face. Teaching you how to speak about your work and why you do it is, I think, really, really hard.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out. I mean, and I think to have a strong voice, though, you have to believe in the voice that you have. And that is, I mean, if we're going to get into childhood stuff, if we're going to get into like mental health, I mean, that is the biggest struggle, right? Is like saying this work is worth seeing.
Yes.
And this story is worth telling. A lot of us struggle with that, yourself, myself included, maybe yourself included.
Yes, myself included too. You're correct.
And I think, when we talk about what makes my work very distinct, is I'm not afraid of messing up. And I think that is also like my biggest piece of advice if you're going to get into art or really anything. My work is very chaotic. It's colorful. It's fun. When I started doing it 13 years ago, a lot of people thought it was crazy and like, why would you do this? And it's too colorful and it's too queer, or it's too many women. And no, it's like all these like things that you would maybe be discouraged by. But to me, it's what's beautiful. It's like people are beautiful, color is beautiful, and stories are beautiful. And in a lot of ways, you have to teach the world why your story is important and why it's good. So and if you trust yourself, it won't look like anyone else's because we're all different. So
yes, that actually resonates really deeply. How do you feel? Oh, I can't wait to get into this, Tracy. I know that we're going to be uncovering so much trauma from our childhood. But when you, just in terms of like your day to day now, and we'll get into how you developed this muscle, do you feel like you have to kind of like hype yourself up every day? Like as you're sending these pitches out, you have to be like, yeah, I still believe in this.
Do I struggle with talking about things that light my ass on fire? I think we all have down days. We all have days where we doubt ourselves. But I've gotten to this place with my work where I truly believe it makes a difference in the world. I truly believe that like when you interface with art in general, but especially my art, like I give to the world something that I didn't have as a child, and that's being seen and feeling loved. And if I can do that for one person, and I think I'm actually very successful at this, then I'm successful, right? Yeah. It's and so to answer your question is like, do I ever lose the chutzpah of putting my work out there? And the answer is no, because I'm still the 8-year-old still looking for love, and I know there's so many people out there that just are waiting to be seen and waiting to be acknowledged. And like, it's like, I have this, like, I can't not do it. Like I gotta paint and I gotta tell stories because I just know, and it's like, sure, most people would look at my business plan and be like, what? You make art affordable and like about things that are hard? Well, how is that gonna sell? How are you gonna make millions? And maybe that's not the point, right? Like maybe the point of the work is that we can all be seen and heard and loved.
I love that. Yeah. The work is the point.
Yes.
The work is the point.
The work is the point. Yeah. And doing the work is the point.
So you've kind of answered my next question, because in a lot of like your editorials and a lot of like, my research about how you have talked about your work is, you describe yourself as a blend of kind of magical, abstract, and realism. Yeah. There's I don't even want to say like a cartoon quality to it, because that's not what it is. It's almost, but it's more like graphic novel, like where things are very, very sharp, and there's not, again, it's colorful. And when I say colorful, I don't just mean like you use a lot of colors. I mean, you do, but you use a lot of color deliberately to kind of make everybody appear on an even playing field. And you use the colors, in my mind, when I look at it, it evokes the emotion more than it evokes anything else. So like the vibrancy always shows up in a place where like somebody's screaming, or like if somebody's like in a more peaceful like
Yeah.
position, then it's usually like cooler tones. Like it's really, really interesting how you do that. I might be completely wrong, but can you tell me a
There's
little
no
bit?
wrong answers.
Tell us a
No.
little bit more about like what specifically draws you to this style and like how you visualize when you're creating a piece.
Yeah, so there's twofold things here, and hopefully my ADHD won't distract me, and we'll get to both of them. So on one side, we were talking about the figures and how I treat them, right? And so they are sort of cartoonish or graphic novel-y. I actually, as you spoke in my bio, I did study illustration. I thought I was going to make comic books when I went to college. Yeah, I really did. Like I said, I love stories. And so I'm really like a drawer who draws with paint. And so you're not wrong when you're saying, oh, it looks a little cartoony. And I don't think cartoony is a bad or hard word in fine art. I think, this is a language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not wrong there. I love faces. I'm known for my hands, actually. That's like what mostly sells, but the faces are fun.
Yeah.
And then secondly, the color. So yeah, I love color that vibrates. I hate perfection. And so this is kind of how I came upon this style of painting. I think a lot of people can relate, like a blank page if you're a writer, or a bunch of fabric. It's like it's almost intimidating, right? And so my style, I just throw the paint on the canvas and I don't know what's going on there. I'm just like, whoa, a little bit blue, ooh, paint, this is so fun. And I mess it up. Like I just start with it as a beautiful mess. And from there, we kind of like craft the image, right? So I'm like, oh man, that swirl is so cool. Like, what if that swirl was like around somebody yelling and that's like their voice? And then I paint that on top of it.
That is actually so cool.
And so yeah, I'll do backgrounds. They're all just rainbow backgrounds. Where else was I going with this? Blah, 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 blah.
The second thing. Yeah.
I think the second thing was the color, but then I think that was both things. I don't know. I have a very strange style. I guess, I'll wrap it up by saying I have a very strange style. And mostly, and we talked about this earlier, I accepted that I cannot sit still. I accepted that I love to work quickly and I love to work with the now. And this style, I paint with acrylic paint. I do everything in layers. I, throw a layer down and then I'm online posting a funny reel and then everything's dry and I get to do another layer. And it just makes sense with my brain. And yeah, like literally what you see on the canvas is what exists up in this head. It's chaos. Yeah.
But you're able to organize it into such beautiful works. And I think it's actually really cool hearing your process because, a lot of times when you think about sitting down to create something, like you think about drafting an outline or preparation, or, you go into each of these like everyday tasks. Maybe it's not even artwork, but everything with a sense of like, okay, this is what the goal is. Whereas for you, like, not that there's not a goal, but your goal is just the creation of it. And so you start all over. You start all over the canvas and then like are inspired by your own patterns.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit too. So yes, I am chaos, right? But setting yourself up for success, I think, is very important. I have all my paints out. I have all the sizes of my canvas. There's no barrier. And I'm able to leave work out. Right? Like I have a studio, I can leave my work out. I used to work at, at my kitchen table and that was so hard. Just setting up is hard, right? So I got rid of all the barriers to make the work so that I can pop up for 15 minutes, throw something on the canvas and then go cook dinner, right? Like that's really important. And then on top of that, part of my process is I call this marination time. So I think you asked me earlier if I paint every day and the answer is no. But what I am doing every day is I am absorbing the world, and that's your marination time. I make notes. I'm like, okay, I really want to talk about mental health right now, or I want to talk about, I don't know, like screaming into the void. That's how we feel. Or I want to feature, a diverse group in like a really big piece, because I think we need to see more of what America really looks like, not a glorified version of, you know, H&M magazine. You know what I'm saying? So I have these little ideas, or they're not little, they're big. Don't discredit yourself, girl. And so I have like a running list, a running idea. And over the year, like it just starts to kind of take shape. I'm like, okay, I keep hitting at something. What am I hitting at? And so there's a lot of like marination and reflection. So by the time I'm like actually painting, like I'm actually painting for this show that I'm working on right now, I already know I'm going to have, you know, 5 baby burritos of self-care, and I'm going to have 3 women screaming into the void, and I'm going to have a hand holding an apple. And I already know that that's coming down the line. And then on top of that, I do a photo shoot in a professional setting, probably once a year,
Nice.
sometimes twice. So I already have models, or I put an open call out for models, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, you know, how, you know, Eve ate the apple and like everyone's mad at her, but hey, knowledge is cool. So let's think about that, you know? And it's, they're really fun. But yeah, so when I say like, I make it seem effortless, like there's actually a lot of preparation involved before paint even hits the canvas.
No, it's incredible. It's incredible to hear the process of it. And I love that you have sort of like the process isn't just the painting, because this is your career and you've been able to create such success. Like this is how you've been able to do that. I like that you talk about, you know, removing the barriers for yourself, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate, especially now with the influx of information we're getting and like all of the how-tos and what to do and who to compare yourself to. There's a lot of noise constantly,
don't do that.
You know, so much noise. So just to be able to hear that even in this really creative avenue, you're able to identify like, okay, here are the things that make it difficult for me to achieve the work, and you know,
get those out of the
reduce
way.
those,
Yeah.
get them out of the way for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a really great piece of advice.
And accepting yourself. Like, I know that I'm a little chaos lady, and I know I'm not going to clean up after myself, and I know I'm going to have dirty brushes, and I know that, and I accept that. And it's okay. And you just work around it, because at the end of the day, it is about the work. It's not about what everybody else is doing. So.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back a little bit, because you're very well spoken and mature in your process, and you're such a consummate pro. And you know, we don't get there just as a pretty package with a bow wrapped up on the top of our heads. Like, I know you.
Wow, thanks. I'm glad you think that.
I want to know how you got here, Tracy. So let's talk about what it was like growing up. I want to know what it was like growing up in Oakland. Did you have siblings? Like, tell me a little bit about young you.
So this is a hard topic for me. I did not remember my childhood for a very long time. And I started therapy recently. And I found out that that's a trauma response, is just checking out. And one of the things that got me like focused on this, beyond like, hey, you gotta reckon with yourself at some point in your life, was honestly having a kid and seeing my own child. And my therapist, shout out to her, hey, you're great. She was like, it's actually really not uncommon that people seek out therapy when their kids are the age that they realized something wasn't right.
Oh.
Yeah. For me, I was, I have a twin and I have an older sister. Oakland is a beautiful place. You'll never hear me bash Oakland. I love Oakland. It's where I'm from. I learned a lot living there. But it's not, you know, the sweetest place either. It's really rough and tumble. And I went through the Oakland public school system, which was at the time really not that great. I graduated without knowing multiplication tables or how to read cursive or write cursive. left at 16 because I was just tired of, well, there was a lot of reasons. We can get into that in a minute, but I left the whole system at 16 because I felt like, what was the point of sticking around when, you know, you see your friends get shot and you know, it's like, it's just the crime, the hardness of it. I just got to this point where I was like, what am I doing here? I could die tomorrow. I'm just going to go run away with the circus and like go have fun because life's too serious here. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. This is a very long answer and I'm beating around the bush. It's tough. I struggled with being seen and feeling loved as a child. And you can, what's the word I want to look for? You can like figure out where that comes from all you want. I try not to drag people in my family down. But I do think it needs to be acknowledged that I guess you don't get to being a person who cares so much about being seen and giving that gift to the world without knowing innately what it's like to not feel that. Yeah. Was that a really long roundabout answer?
No, it was a very honest answer. Okay. And I'm going to ask more questions and you tell me if you need me to go a different direction.
I literally talked to my therapist and I was like, I'm a little scared about this portion. And she was like, I think little Tracy needs a voice.
Yes.
Yes.
I would love, so first of all, for our listeners, for anyone who hasn't been to Oakland, California, Oakland's a beautiful place.
It is.
And it's a beautiful place today. It is just east of San Francisco. It's gorgeous and it's a really nice area now. But as Tracy is describing, it was quite different a couple decades ago. And I remember, because I'm from San Francisco, I would drive through Oakland sometimes just to go visit family in the city. And my uncle would be like, if you need to stop for gas, if you need to get out to use the bathroom, you don't stop in Oakland.
No.
And it is not like that anymore. But Oakland has a bad rap for how it used to be for a certain period of time. And there are a lot of different reasons. But
I also want to acknowledge some of those reasons, right? Like when you keep a population from mental health services, when you keep a population from education, when you keep a population from the opportunities that should be afforded every human being on this earth, of course you're going to see crime. Of course you're going to see all the things that you see in Oakland. And I will say the beauty of Oakland is it also radicalized me. These are my friends. I grew up there, right? And yes, we all experienced hardship. We all experienced muggings. We all had to fight. But that doesn't happen out of nowhere. And I think I wouldn't be the art activist I am today without Oakland, California and the experiences I had there. So
it teaches you
it's a double-edged sword.
It is. But you have so much more empathy for what people need to do to survive because, like you said, human behavior doesn't erupt from nowhere. Like people don't just wake up innately and say, oh, I'm going to be bad today. Like when I look at my son and he's doing really naughty things, there's a good human in there that is trying to express themselves or make a need known. So let's talk about the part of you that was trying to make needs known as a kid. So you grew up in the Oakland public school system and you did have siblings. Did you have like a support system at home? Were you close with your parents? Were you close with your siblings?
No, I'm the middle child, even though I'm a twin. And I was always praised for not needing anything. My siblings were a lot louder, a lot more vocal about what they needed. And my parents were also very busy. That's the excuse. And we were latchkey kids. Like I started taking the bus at 10 and, cooking for myself. Yes, a lot of my childhood was very lonely. I spent a lot of time reading comic books and walking around Oakland, California with nothing to do and waiting for the, the streetlights to come on because there wasn't a lot of anything happening in that household. I'm trying to be like so delicate. Okay. maybe I don't need to be. I don't know.
Well, were you it's really interesting though because you talk to most twins and I mean I think it's a fairly common assumption that like when you have a twin, that there's like that twin connection, right?
So they separated us because I'm I'm the defender, and my brother really struggled with defending himself. And so he went to private school and I went to public school, mainly because I would beat the living shit out of anyone who would say anything wrong about my brother. I was a little bruiser, but I mean, you got to understand, like, this was Oakland, California in the like
you had to be
early
tough.
90s. Yeah, you had to be tough. You had to know how to kick someone in the stomach, and I was great at that.
So
where was the supervision? Nobody knows.
So I mean,
I know I look really cute, but
you are really cute. But I mean, it makes sense. So you were close with your, like, you had a closeness with him to the point where you were like, okay, if we're growing up in a rough and tumble place, I gotta look out for you. So you assumed the role of protector.
Yes, and I've been doing that ever since.
But then did you feel like you were being punished, being separated from him?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't really remember too much. I don't know if I felt punished. It
was just that separation, like all of a sudden.
They just separated us. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of the childhood that I can remember or I think about is mostly me trying not to upset the equilibrium of the house. And that meant being hyper independent, never complaining, and being on your own.
Yeah.
And only now do I realize, looking at my kid, that, no 4-year-old should be climbing up on a counter cooking soup.
Yeah.
But that was my life. Yeah.
That's what you were doing.
Yeah.
You feel so grown up during those times too, because as
you're
a 4-year-old,
proud of yourself. Yeah. You're like, oh, I can do it all on my own. And you don't realize, like, that's actually kind of a trauma.
You still need that tenderness. 4 is a really young age. My brother is not 4 years young. He's 6 years younger than me, and my dad had to travel a lot for work, and so there was a lot of times for myself as a kid where I was the big sister. So I, at 6 years old, was like making bottles and like helping my mom carry the stroller. And so I'm like, look, and my son is 3 now, and like, as you get older and you're around kids that are like 5, 6, 7 years old, you look at them and you're like, wow, they're really little. But like at the time that you're doing those things, you also just feel like you said, like, you're so proud of it. You feel like you're doing something that's being, even if it's not being explicitly asked, you feel like you're rising to whatever challenge is needed. But it really is a survival mechanism. It's not typical of the childhood experience.
I will say this, and this is something I'm learning. The tough thing about neglect, emotional and physical neglect, is you don't know what you're missing when you're a kid. You think that that's normal. And it's only because, I've grown and taken care of myself to get myself here, and through some good therapy, that you start to realize, oh, like, actually, like, you did need to have someone there who said, hey, it's okay, I got you. Like, oh, you're not feeling good? Let me make you some soup.
Yes.
And that's, it's a hard lesson to learn, and it's a hard lesson to unlearn. And that's a lot of what I'm doing now.
Yes.
So, for anyone listening who maybe is not sure or, like, feels like they're carrying everything from this 38-year-old woman, I'm telling you, it is not your job to carry it all.
Yeah.
And if you feel that way, it's time to have a hard look at your support structures and what's going on in your life. We are not meant to carry this burden alone, and I'm only learning that at 38.
Isn't it so
I'm trying to impart this
so
with
much
everyone
knowledge now.
I know. If only I knew. Try not to do it all on your own.
So we've established that you were very independent from a very young age. You had this innate desire to not rock the boat, and that you were always looking for ways to entertain yourself, especially being separated from the closest person to you, I would presume, at that age. And you wouldn't take shit because you had to protect yourself.
No.
So tell me where this love of comic books came in and what drew you to it. And was this, I'm guessing, the first seed of the artist in you that was being planted?
Well, I think like comic books, you just discover them at a certain age, right? And if you have no one around, you just read. I mean, I was just a reader. And I like stories. I guess the larger question of like, how did it inspire me as an artist, or like or becoming an artist I think outside of like whether I'm painting or designing clothes or making books or whatever it is I'm doing, I think, and we said this earlier, the need to tell a story is always at the forefront. Like I said before, I was a circus performer. I performed on stages all over the world. And I was always telling a story, right? Like sometimes it's through my body, sometimes it's, you know, on the canvas. So it's funny, like, because in some ways I've never stopped doing that. I just changed the way I did it. But yeah, I mean, comic books, reading is like a gateway, especially if you're a lonely little girl trying to stay out of trouble.
What were your favorites?
What were my favorites back then? If you've ever seen, this is why I'm so emotional. The book Blankets, it's really good. I can't remember who wrote it. Oh my God, it's like a graphic novel. It's so beautiful. It's about life. There's some really amazing artists out there doing some really important work, especially in the young adult genre now. Oh my God, like take your kids to bookstores, man. You'll open the world to them.
It's huge. Graphic novels are huge now.
So big right now. And I'm so glad to see it. Like make it accessible, you know, make it fun, make it, I mean, you could say that about my work too. Make it accessible, make it fun. That's how we make the world change.
No, but I love this. There's a whole thread forming. Okay.
Yes, you see a theme, a common theme.
Yes. So you started getting fed up with whether you realized it or not, I think, this kind of pigeonhole that you were in, right? Like you were sort of like at the eye of a storm of like growing up in this household with all these things going on and being separated and like going through the school system, which is pretty rough, in a place that was pretty rough at that time. You talk about leaving, not knowing the multiplication tables, and just being like, I'm done at 16. Where does the circus fit into this?
So I started circus when I was 9 years old. I was a gymnast at 4. It was the only love of my life at the time. I used to beg my parents to send me to circus camp for the whole summer so I could never be home. And they acquiesced sometimes, which was great for me. By the time I was 13, I was already teaching, making money. I had my own bank account. I was teaching 4-year-olds and up. And then by the time I was 16, I was teaching 18 months and up. I had, a full-time job. I was performing. I was traveling, performing. And in terms of what was going on in my, my home life. And then at the time I had a boyfriend who was also emotionally abusive, like calls to like. I guess it just seemed like home. I don't know, except worse. And, it all sort of culminated with feeling like I shouldn't be on this earth and realizing that something had to change, something major. And I think when you have those moments, I'm getting all verklempt.
No.
But when you have those moments, those like come to God moments, and you move through those, you realize that like life's too short. Sorry. It's still, it's a moment, like a moment in your life you don't forget. And I just didn't want to wait around for things to change anymore. And I think, like if we're talking about a theme of my work and my life, I just stopped waiting for things to change. And I believe that if you just put in the world what you want, the world will listen. You just got to be really fucking loud. So I left. I was done. I was done with what Oakland was.
Living at home.
Living at home. The conditions in which you don't feel like you belong in the world anymore. Then you should leave. And that's what I did.
Absolutely. So did you, and I really want to thank you for being so vulnerable and open about this, because these moments of just deep despair, so many people are unlucky at handling them. And I think it's really a miracle for the ones that are able to
Make it
just
through.
to step
Yeah.
out of that moment. I mean, you think about the teen suicide rates now, it's really horrifying,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
only amplified by the world we live in.
So
So
much
I'm
so.
so happy that you didn't succumb
Thank
to
you.
that,
Me
and
too.
that
Me
you
too.
get
I'm
to
very
share your
grateful.
art. And I think the emotion and the tears, like, you should never apologize for that. I think it's, takes a lot of empathy for yourself, for that version of yourself, for that child. Like, when you talk about looking at your son now and just seeing the point at which you should have been experiencing more care and more caretaking, like somebody taking care of you as opposed to you taking care of yourself. I've talked about this before, but it truly is one of the biggest gifts of motherhood, especially for people who've experienced things like this as kids, because like, I look at my son and I feel so much more softness toward myself.
Yeah.
And
You
that's,
look at
I don't,
you look at
it's
your
great.
kids, and I mean, that's the thing that really hit me. And I started to have a lot of rage. That's why I went to therapy. Because it was my little person going like, where were they?
Yeah.
When you're there for your child, it's a reflection all of a sudden of like what you went through. And you
Yeah.
realize very quickly that, like, God, it's not that hard to love someone. Or
Yeah.
maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
It's,
not hard for me to love my child.
no,
And
not at all.
it's not, you really realize quickly that the world just needs a little more love.
Mhm.
And I wanted to
It,
touch on one more thing, actually.
yeah,
Sorry to cut
absolutely.
you off. I truly believe that it's important to talk about these things. And although it's very hard for me, if we don't talk about it, then it's shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in my case, I should never be ashamed. Something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your body trying to find a way. Sorry, now I'm getting emotional again.
No,
But this is
because
my
it's so
point.
true.
You need to talk about what's going on and not feel alone in that, because when you feel like there's nobody, that's when that thought can take hold. And I think it's so important. And like, wrapping back up about what we're talking about and why I talk about mental health and why it's so important and why every day I get up and I make this work, it's because I know what it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I save one person, if because I make crazy rainbow paintings and I talk about my pain,
Mm-hmm.
then God, like, thank God that, like, I went through that so that I can relate and help somebody else. Like, that's why we're here, I think.
Yeah, I think
you
so
know
too. I think vulnerability is such a gateway to compassion, and to
yeah.
compassion with ourselves, compassion with others. And I do think that so many people are going to listen to your story and look at your art, as they do already, and feel seen, which is the most beautiful part of your work, Tracy. It's
Thank you.
you really sharing all of this emotion, all the rage, all of the shame, all of the fear, all of the joy too, the triumph of getting through this
Yeah.
on the canvas and through your work and through your advocacy. So
Thank you.
I'm so
It ain't
happy that you're
easy.
sharing this.
It ain't easy, but
No.
like, the more authentic and honest I am with the world and with myself, like, you can see the impact. And
Yeah.
in whatever you end up doing, and whatever the listeners, y'all, whatever you end up doing, if you're coming from a place of authenticity and you're not afraid of your darkness, and you're not afraid of the things that got you to the places you are now,
Mhm.
and you own that, I think you create new pathways that were never seen before, because there's so much history of us sweeping things under the rug. And
Yeah.
obviously that's not working. So especially in today's age, we need each other more than ever, and we need these stories, and we need my story, and we need your story, and
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, like, infuse yourself with it, because there's some little 8-year-old who
Yeah.
feels like nobody's there for her, and you got to
Yeah.
show that at least there's one person on this earth who cares.
Yeah, give yourself the permission to let go of the shame of it and just be vulnerable and open, because there is a community out there for you.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
in that sharing that we survive.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in the circus?
Oh, yeah, that's a fun conversation. Yeah, so like I said, I started as a gymnast. I got to competition level and then didn't like competition, and a circus program opened up. I could do everything. I can juggle, I can walk on stilts, I can unicycle. Still, my 38-year-old ass on a unicycle is pretty hilarious. But I got it still. But my specialty was hand balancing contortion. And I was trained by like a master guy from China in San Francisco. He was amazing. Who would just like leave chairs around me.
Is
And
this
if I
like
came
when
down, I'd be like, oh God. Like, he's amazing, but he's brutal. And I loved it. I ate it up.
Is this like when people stand on their hands and then your legs go over your hands and like, oh my gosh.
I could sit on my head at some point and I could do one-arm handstands. It was amazing. It was like before Facebook though, you guys. Like, there's like 3 pictures of me. Well, you train for it. I mean, you train for it. And I've been training for it for so long that like, yeah, splits and all that stuff didn't hurt. Now I'm like falling apart. I've had shoulder surgery. I've got like a fractured ankle. I mean, but would I have traded it for the world? No. Like, that was my ticket out of my situation as a child. And I had money and I had purpose and I had a community, a new community, a found family who loved me for the weird, crazy girl I was and who accepted me. And maybe that's, really what got me through,
Wow.
And I think, like to put these things together, the point in which I was like, okay, something's got to change. Guess what? I already had one foot in the door at 16 in San Francisco as a circus performer. That was my ticket out. And that was my hope.
That's so wild. So was it like a Cirque du Soleil type circus or like?
So I was like known as like a circus performer for hire. So I worked with Cirque du Soleil. I worked with like Kid Rock and the Flaming Lips. They just hire me for things and I would just show up. Yeah. I got to be like a color fairy for Xerox once, which meant I like at 8 a.m. at a meeting, like my job was to change the color in the flower things, and like Bill Nye the Science Guy was there. I mean, it's so fun.
So cool.
He hugged me. I asked for a hug and he gave me a hug. He's so nice. But so like, what a crazy, great way to like segue from like pain and hardship to, well, circus is pain, but I got to see the world and like support myself.
Else.
Yeah. And I got to find this beautiful, fun, ridiculous world family of freaks, geeks, queers, everything in the under the sun. And oh my God, I think in queer life, we talk about found family a lot. Like, thank God.
Yeah.
I had found family because, and I talk about this a lot in my work too. This is why community is so important to me is you got to have it. You got to have somewhere where you can feel safe.
It's survival.
Yeah.
Can we rely on community in order to survive? I don't think that's ever going to change as long as as long as time keeps going. We've needed it from the early days of evolution to now. That's it's survival of the fittest is community. So, and then at what point did you decide to transition from the circus into fine art?
Yeah, let's talk about the career trajectory. Yeah. So I hurt my back in a car accident and just I couldn't sit on my head anymore. What a conundrum. What a sentence. And I'd always loved comic books. We talked about that. And I always loved drawing. And so it just made sense to go to art school and study illustration to me. It was like, okay, well, if I can't tell stories with my body, then I'm going to tell stories with my mind and my hands, you know? And I only applied to one school, which was California College of Arts in Oakland, California. I used to walk past it every day from high school. And I would just look in there and be like, wow, people just make art all day. That sounds amazing. So that's where I applied and I got in. And yeah, just I was there for about 5 years and fell in love with painting. I didn't know I was going to be a painter. And here I am now. And I didn't want to tell other people. I didn't want, so illustration, that job, you kind of get hired to make other people whatever they want. And I didn't want to do that. Once I got to the end, I was like, no, I got too many good stories right here. I'm not going to wait. Here's another theme. I'm not going to wait for someone to hire me to tell a story. I'm going to do it in the fine art world. And let's just see what happens. And it's been great so far. So
what was the hardest thing about deciding that you were going to do fine art and do it on your own?
I'm a stubborn person, as you could tell. So I think by the time I decided I wanted to do fine art, I just knew that's what I was going to do, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I think the hardest part is you have to still like make food and like make enough money to live. And like I tell people, first and foremost, like when I started, I had 4 other jobs. I made websites. I worked as a salesperson for video games. I also made video game tech art. And I was still teaching gymnastics at the time. That's what you have to do to make ends meet. And then now I also tell people like all of this doesn't happen without my husband. Like he's the one who makes sure that, you know, there's food on the table and there's a steady paycheck. Being an artist is not like, please do not get into this thinking you're going to be making millions. I mean, there are great months where you're like, wow, I've made it.
Yeah.
And you make more than you've ever imagined. And then like this last year has been so hard for the arts. So many places are closing. Everybody's wondering where the art world goes next. I mean, this is an industry that is built on chaos. Like there's no 401k.
And you have to be comfortable with that.
And like I said, I'm very blessed. My patron of the arts is my husband.
Shout out to the husbands.
Yeah, shout out. I couldn't do it without him. I really couldn't. And I think that's important to also note. Like people who, you know, you get on social media and everyone looks so successful and everything looks so easy. Guys, this is hard work, and even harder because you're not guaranteed a paycheck.
Yeah.
I
love that you are relentless in it, and that you're real in the thread of community.
Yes.
You found your family. You found your person who's taking care of things with you.
God. Yes.
Yeah. And you get to rewrite the way that you do motherhood and you do life.
Huge.
Which is really cool.
Huge. Yes, thank you. I worked freaking hard for the life I have, and I am thankful every day that I get to do this.
Do you you talked about therapy a lot. Do you have any like small mantras or rituals that help ground you throughout the day or even like through your artwork?
I'm still working on that. I honestly, I'm the queen of the spiral. I remind myself that I'm a work in progress and I'm allowed to have feelings and I'm allowed to express those feelings, and it means I'm alive, and not to get too hung up on the fact that you spiraled or you got stuck in an emotion. Like they're there for a reason and you got to listen to them and hopefully not get stuck there. We're working on that one. Emotions
can be part of the map. I mean, you just have to take your time. And I like that.
I try.
We're coming to the end of our time together. on this podcast, not in the world, because you're
So
an
much to
incredible
talk
person.
about.
So
Oh,
much, so
stop.
much. But there's so much that you'd been through as a kid, so much that you've had to translate from pain into art, first through your body and then now on the canvas. If you could go back to that teenage self or that 8-year-old or that 4-year-old, what would you tell her?
You are loved. You are worthy. That's what this is.
Yeah.
That's all we need, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean a freaking book called Worthy. I mean,
Yeah.
And the scene project, I know we beat on this a little bit, or we touched on this, we touched on this a little bit. Scene, that whole project is, I could take 50 people a year. It costs nothing to participate. All you have to do is tell me what it means to feel seen. That's the gift. And that's what I would tell my that's the question I would ask. And then, you know what you do when you hear the answer? You do the thing.
Yeah.
And I do that project every year for that little 8-year-old girl.
That is the most beautiful, beautiful gift you could give back to yourself and to the world.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful that your son gets to grow up with you, feeling seen, being seen, and then seeing you see others.
Oh, it's a beautiful life. It really is. I'm so glad I stuck around. I really am.
Me too.
Yeah.
I have one final question. We ask this from all of our guests. We've touched on it a little bit, but what was a quality that you had as that 4-year-old, as that 8-year-old, as that teen in the circus that you might not have taken pride in at the time, but now as an adult you look at it and you're like, wow, that's really cool that I've carried that my whole life?
Stubbornness.
Yes!
Yeah. I'm stubborn, and when I have a vision, I will claw my way to it if I have to. I do a little bit every day. And I have a real belief that, like, you just put that one foot in front of the other and things will change for the better, hopefully. So that's what we're doing here.
Your work is so incredible. Hearing the meaning, hearing the process behind it, hearing your background, it just makes all of it feel even more vibrant, even more meaningful, even more beautiful, even more important to the world. And I really, really thank you for taking the time to sit with me and to share your story with our audience. You are so cracked wide open and so filled with color and vibrance, Tracy. And I'm so excited to share your story with everyone.
Well, thank you for having me. Seriously.
Yes.
And what a great idea just to share with the world and to share with our next generation. I think it's beautiful. Really. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Before we go, where can our listeners find you? Where can they view your work? Where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I live on Instagram, although I do have Facebook and X and TikTok, all of them. And that's all the Tracy Piper, the one, the only, TheTracyPiper. You can go to my website, www.thetracypiper.com. Branding. And then if you are in Portland, San Francisco, or Miami, Portland, I will be doing a pop-up here, or in Portland, Oregon, the first week of what month is it? First week of November. I'll be in Miami for Miami Art Week. I'm finalizing plans, but I'll probably be in Wynwood. And then San Francisco Art Week is in January. So if you're in any of those cities, come say hi. Follow me on Instagram so you know all about it. And then lastly, I just want to do one more shout out for that scene project. I started up kind of mid-January. You got to be following me on Instagram to apply. I take 50 people a year. It's free, y'all. It's a really powerful project. I'm going into my 5th year, so I've already done 200 people. Come be a part of something larger than yourself and interface with art.
I love it. I'm so excited.
I better see you there. I better see your eyeball.
I will be applying.
Yay!
All right.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and close us out then. Until next time, everyone. And that's our show. If you liked what you heard today, please like, subscribe to, follow, and share Meet Bridget with your circle. The best way to help our work here is to rate and review our podcast. We're listening and constantly working to build something helpful for you. Catch you next time.